I messed with my camera. I just messed everything up. Crazy. Everything's off center. Just messing with my equilibrium. All right. We are here for GM's Trick of the Trade number 45. Yes, 45. Land as treasure. And it seems to be lagging quite a bit on my end. Not sure what's going on. See you and hear you. Well, that's good. Everything feels off kilter to me. I don't know why. It's just the way it is, I suppose. I'll push out some announcements. That's life, baby. That's life in a pandemic. That's what we got going on. We're all locked up. I spent a good hour today laying in the yard pulling weeds. Very cathartic. I like that word, cathartic. Yeah, it's nice. It's sort of like sweeping. When you sweep a floor, you can, or mowing a lawn is even better. And when you look at the lawn and you can see that it needs mowed, you mow it and you can see the work that you've done. Progress is good. you can actually see, yes, I did this. Yeah, the whole word is just good. Cathartic. It's got a lot of cathartic. I don't know. It's just a good word. Whoever made up cathartic, yeah, you did a good job with that one. Thank you for the follow, 𝐓𝐫𝐚𝐝𝐞. We are here for GM's Tricks of the Trade number 45. I think tonight's topic was land as treasure. And as everyone can see, I clearly did not get the non-reflecting equipment to make the glasses not reflect anymore. Turn it right on. That might help a little bit. I doubt it, but it might. Who am I to say? I've got to get a new chair. This thing is old. It's as old as the hill. Good deal. We broke 500 followers last week, or earlier this week, I guess. And Jinx, it looks like you were 5'11". That is very good news. We'd like to see that going up. If you have not followed us, please give us a follow. Much appreciated. Helps folks at Twitch. Twitch. Where's the candy? Whew. I'm not on my game tonight at Twitch. See, we're actually working here and trying to make the channel grow, which is good for them, good for us, good for everybody. It's a good thing. How's it going, Dark Light? So I have to say, tonight's topic, land for treasure, is literally one of my favorite things to do. Award characters. I absolutely love to give property, however you want to do it, title, however you want to call it, to characters. It's so much more, I don't know, so much more you can do with it, as I discussed in the GM's Tricks of the Trade, than gold and magic. And, after 30 years of gaming, gold and magic is, we're giving gold, we're giving magic. How's it going, Epi? So it's nice to kind of to flesh that whole thing out. And I don't think anywhere really is that I know of anyway, do any other systems kind of push this concept out there like we do at Troll Again. It's just a good idea all the way around. It's really what's behind Engineering Dungeons, Engineering Castles, and a lot of the Castle Keeper's Guide. There's just kind of stuff, even if you're in air, it's kind of all packaged together. I'm doing all right, Dark Light. Muddling through this pandemic. I tell you what, this is the craziest thing I have ever seen, and I guess I'm just old enough. I can remember the Cold War, the Berlin Wall coming down. I remember that video 10 years back or 6 years back when a guy jammed a stick up Gaddafi's butt. And so I just remember all of this stuff. But this pandemic might rank up there in the top 3 as just things I didn't expect to see or live through or experience, and things that I don't want to live through or experience. How's it going? Well, I want to live through it. No, let me rephrase that. I do definitely want to live through it. We all do, but crazy day. Crazy day. How's it going, Green? We're here for GM's Tricks of the Trade number 45. And I think that I've talked to Tim a little bit today. Well, falling is the number one amount so far. There you go. You don't want to fall down, that's for sure. Yeah, it's crazy. Hotels and motels are being rented out for quarantine space. Yeah, it's absolutely nuts. And I don't even know, when I hear things like that, I don't even know how to process that, because if this virus is able to live all kinds of places, do we want to compete with people with the coronavirus in hotels? I don't know. It's just, those places aren't cleaned up as it is. I don't know if we want to add chaos to it, but they got to do what they got to do. I know places like New York are getting absolutely hammered. And New Jersey, too, from what I see. Right? Probably northern New Jersey is densely populated. We've done, Tim and I used to do a little stomping around up in Newark. Is that where Ed's store was, Tim? I think that was Newark. And Patty lived there, and there was a convention there. I did a Great War Society meeting there. Yeah, we've stomped around a little bit around New Jersey, northern New Jersey. Never close to it. So it wasn't in Newark, it was close to it. And he had 2 stores, I think. He's working for a trucking firm now, which is cool. He had a fantastic. All Things Fun was the name of his store. New Berlin, there you go. Ed was a great guy. He used to work for Taylor Book Distributors. It's Taylor and Something Book Distributors. And then he, while he was doing that, he started his own game company, Alien Menace Games, and they made these really cool, back in the early aughts, he made these really cool little bag games, little war games that they were in little bags. Alien Menace stuff was really badass. And then after that, he opened up his own comic book / game store, All Things Fun, there in New Berlin, New Jersey, and he did that for years and years and years and years and years. We ate more meat with Ed and his wife, and one day we went to that Brazilian restaurant. That was fantastic. Oh my God. We need to head back to New Jersey. People were friendly. I like New Jersey. I never got to see the southern part of the state, and I understand that it's very pretty down there, a lot of open country, forests and pasture and whatnot, right up my alley. I kind of like the open space, the wide open space. That's why I was laying in my yard today, pulling weeds, so I could somehow feel like I was in a wide open space. How's it going, Snow Quilter? Very good. We're about to dive into it. We always give a few minutes for people to show up. We can ride horses through New Jersey. We may have to if it keeps spinning on like it is. All Walking Dead and stuff like that. Which, I have to say, that show still is carrying it. It's doing a really good job. I'm keeping up with it. I'm in season 10 or 11 or whatever they're in now. And it's good. I got to say, I miss Rick, but it's good. All right, well, let's dive. Well, are all the kids, why are the kids mad at you? Are you schooling them? Is that why they're mad at you? All right, I need that open there. I know, we worked with, my wife and I worked with a school here. We've done it for years, so having the kids at home isn't that big of a deal, but I know a lot of people are having some adjustment issues. But you homeschool, Jennifer, you know the deal. I really like Texas, but Louisiana definitely was nice. I like Louisiana. I like Texas, too. People in Texas, they drive nice on the road. They get out of your way, or you get out of their way. It's just Texas is just a good place. I have to tell you, though, I have kind of fallen in love with New Mexico. A few years ago, my family we all went down on vacation in Roswell and poked around New Mexico, stayed in a few hotels here and there. A couple years after that, we went to Taos, New Mexico, poked around the northern part of the state. I like the desert. I like the open spaces of nothing, just nothing. It was all right. I got so many trees in my yard, it's mind-numbing. All right, well, let's dive into tonight's GM's Tricks of the Trade. We are here for number 45, Land as Treasure, one of my favorite things to do. And we're going to dive into the first one. And so basically, essentially, the concept here is instead of, obviously not instead of, but you can give treasure, gold, and magic items and other various and sundries, extraordinary items like a magical box, like a music box or something like that as treasure, and that's really cool. That's kind of normal. We're not all bad drivers. Hey, I like Texas drivers. I've never had a problem. Yeah, giving land as treasure is something a little bit different, and you can do it in any number of ways. You can actually award the treasure as kind of they finish the adventure, and whoever they were working for gives them this piece of property. A noble can give them the property. They can inherit it. They can purchase it. There's all kinds of conquer it, or one of the things that ends up happening in my game frequently is it's not really kind of overtly given, but the characters just after they've adventured for so long in one region, it becomes theirs, and in that they're the protectors or what have you. That's the big kind of theme in the game I've been running on Thursday. Everyone has just kind of adopted the Darkenfold as their force, and really the northern part of the Darkenfold, and they keep it clean. They're constantly fighting monsters and invading creatures and uprooting old evils and stuff like this. So, and then the locals have turned to them. They're kind of the watchers in the wood, or the protectors of the wood, which is really kind of cool. So essentially what's happened is the entire northern part of the Darkenfold has become this place where the characters have refuge, and they have multiple friends and NPCs that help them and work with them, that give them refuge, or whatever it is that they need. I like the concepts of that. So the treasure isn't as overtly given, but it certainly is part of the milieu of the campaign. Max Golden, who sits at my table for it's our table, it's not my table, for decades now, really gets into it. The others too, Chris and Todd, but this is kind of the way they define themselves. So it's really it's kind of cool. It's changed the whole dynamic of the noble and the vassal and all of that business, which so many players, myself included, have trouble with. But it's an Atlantis treasure is a nice way to do, just a nice way to award the effort. I see, Jennifer, because I'm a slave driver too, and I'm making them go to bed on time. They have been mouthing back and fighting me all week. I'm COVID-cation. Yeah, COVID-cation is not very fun at all. She makes you go to bed on time when she mouths back. There you go. COVID-cation. Yes, we're all kind of tired of COVID-cation. I think so. I think the country's going to bust at the seams here pretty soon. We're not used to being told what to do. It's locked up, so we'll see. So number one. So I began number one with a quote. I once had a player that gained a land grant to a swamp. He built a castle in it. And there you go. That's the way to do it. Make them work for it. But that's sort of what I'm talking about. I'll get into it in a little bit, but that's sort of what I'm talking about at Blood Wild, because once you've given the land, once they've earned the land, or however it is they acquire it, or the property, the inn, it doesn't matter, whatever it is, you can certainly do all kinds of stuff with it. You can build adventures into it, NPCs into it. Just all kinds of hooks can just crop up all the time. It just gives you this almost limitless field of stuff that you can do. So the Atlantis treasure is actually kind of a two-way street. They get something out of it, but you as a GM get a lot out of it, because you can do so much with it once it's rolled. Mother was a German native. She told me about it, though. I wonder how much she just made up. Oh, wait, I missed the first part of that. Yeah, the Black Forest got its name because the canopy is so dense it appears to be nighttime at most hours of the day. That's interesting. I remember driving through when I was a kid. We lived in Heidelberg, Germany, and we drove through the Black Forest a few times, but we were on the road, so I don't remember it being that dark, but probably. It's beautiful. I love everything in Germany. The Germans are just wonderful food. Austrians too. I absolutely love it. All right, so the first one I did was known and unknown unknowns. For those of you who remember back, Donald Rumsfeld was Secretary of Defense under Bush. We didn't get into war conversations into that, but in a press conference, he made this statement that was so outlandish that it just everyone began rolling with it. But if you actually look at it, he was actually a very intelligent man. And if you look at it and kind of dissect it, it makes a whole lot of sense. So I'll read it to you because this plays into Trick of the Trade number one. There are known knowns. There are things we know that we know. There are known unknowns. That is to say, there are things that we know we don't know. but there are also unknown unknowns. There are things we don't know, and it's actually this fantastic commentary on war, because so many things can happen. You know the enemy is XYZ, or in our case, the land is XYZ. You suspect that, you know, you can get surprised by the way they use XYZ, but what you don't know is stuff that you don't know, and that's the stuff that you don't know, and this is, that concept plays into the land as treasure just beautifully, because they've inherited or gained or whatever it is, this piece of property, this 20,000 acres of land, and it's got 4 or 5 villages on it, it's got 3,000 people, and there you go. So you set these parameters. But there could be 1,000 things in that acreage going on that they don't know about, that the person who gave them the land doesn't know about, or when they seek it or whatever it is, that nobody knows. One of the things, I think one of the examples I used was the land could easily be a wintering place for a band of orcs. The orcs raid in the south. Come winter, they return to this land and hole up. Well, the character's going to have been there for 4 months, say, if they gain it in the spring, before they even learn about this particular thing. There could be dungeons. There could be a crypt under the main castle. There are any number of things that you, as a GM, can come up with. You can put into this acreage, this land as treasure, that can engage the players on just an almost limitless number of adventures. Now, obviously, the smaller the piece of the smaller the land is or the property is, the less you're going to be able to do that. One of the things in my game that one of the characters owns an inn. He's inherited this inn. He was always so helpful to the innkeeper during game sessions and cutting wood and serving bar or whatever. If the innkeeper had no heirs, eventually left it to him when he died. So there's, obviously it's a tavern, so there's a limited number of things that you can do, but there's still a huge number of things you can do. A constant flood of NPCs coming in and out of that tavern every night. So they could have adventure hooks. They themselves could be the adventure. There's just all kinds of stuff that you can do once you've given this property over, and that's what I'm talking about with the known and the unknown. And you don't necessarily have to lay all this out. In fact, you shouldn't lay all this out before they're given the land. Just keep in your mind that this terrain is X size, and this is what I can do with it, and these things may happen over time, or as the characters explore it, poking around, unearth, an ancient tree with some evil about it, or what have you. It just goes on and on and on and on. And so using this concept of not knowing what's before them, but giving them the land as treasure it is not only, this is what I was talking about earlier, the treasure, you've given the character something, but this is a two-way street. You now have reaped what you've sown, and you can create a myriad number of adventures off of this treasure that you gave it. Whereas if you just give them gold, it's just gold. Magic items you can do a little bit with, but not a lot. Certainly not as much as you can land as treasure. So consider it, do it. It's a good thing, little and big. All right, so let's meander into number 2. And as always with these discussions, if you have any comments or any questions, please throw them in the stream there. A lot of you all have run games for years and played in games for years, and you have tons of good ideas. We'd love to hear about them in the stream. Throw them in there. And if you have not already, please give us a follow. We sure appreciate that. There's other things I was supposed to say, but I can't remember what they are. And Chuck is on hiatus tonight. He is wandering around his own acreage, trying to find whatever he's trying to find. We won't see Chuck again. Tim and I'll see him tomorrow, but you'll see Chuck again next week. Or Saturday. He's got a Saturday game, I think, so you'll probably see him Saturday. So let's go on to number 2. So this is probably, once you've given land as treasure, this is a critical part of this treasure thing. See, when I first did this, way back in 85 or 6 or whatever it was, I had one of the characters become a baron of a small, just a small barony in the kingdom of, we were in Greyhawk at the time, so it was kingdom of 𝐓𝐫𝐤𝐬. There's that little town called 𝐓𝐫𝐿, I think, it's on the lower left side of 𝐓𝐫𝐤𝐬, I think. And he became the Baron of 𝐓𝐫𝐿, and I wrote all of this information down. I had 3 villages, and I had all the villagers kind of listed with their populations, and then their headmen, primary families, and how much taxes and dues, feudal dues were supplied by these to the baron, and conversely, the character's relationship with the king above him and his feudal dues, and it was just gigantic. I still got it in the notes, the notes somewhere. It must have been 10 or 12 pages of just bookkeeping, and we tried to do that. We tried to how's it going, DM Samuel? We tried to keep up with it, and it became this thing, but it kind of devolved in time into this papers and paychecks concept of bookkeeping, and notes got crisscrossed and things got messed and this and that and the other, and it just became kind of tedious over time. I tried to replicate it later, and it too became tedious, even though I tried to streamline it. So eventually what I started doing with, how's it going, Virtual Wizard? What I eventually started doing with the Land of Treasure concept is making the management of it extremely easy. Once you give it, I don't go into any kind of tax rolls or feudal dues or any of that stuff. I just basically kind of have it balanced out. I'll let the players know, okay, so you're the Baron of Dr. Pepper, and this small Baron of yours it generates 500 gold pieces of income a year, but upkeep's about 480, and your extra 20 needs to go back into rebuilding your castle for the next 3 years. So for now, though you are the Baron of X, it's a wash. There's no real income. You don't need to worry about taxes or sitting for the king or figuring any of these population rolls out or all that stuff. You just make it easy. I've actually had players turn down lands or strongholds. Their reason was just that it was another thing they had to. That's spot on what I'm talking about, Darklight. That's what it became in my game. It was just one more thing that wasn't really getting them anything. There was a little bit of income from it. There was more hassle than there was anything else, because every time they went before the king, it became this huge ordeal because nobody would bow and no one showed the king respect, and that ended up with that side of things just pisses everybody off, and it always just kind of came unsprung. And it's just another taxing thing. So the thing to do is not weigh it down with any of that crap. Just say it works. It's self-contained. You're not earning much. I always have to get a little bit out of it. Every month you get about 50 gold pieces. Whatever fits your campaign and style of treasure that you're getting. And a lot of this actually is covered in the Castle Keeper's Guide. If you go to the chapter 10 in the CKG, it's called Land of Treasure, and it gives you kind of guidelines. So let me pop that open real quick. This too, this would make management crazy easy. So chapter 10 is the Land of Treasure. Here we are. Let's get the one that's actually got. So the knight here, as a 6th level knight, that's a lot of reading. I don't want to read anything. I don't want to bore you guys with reading. The knight has thieves involved, feudal dudes and stuff. Let's just go to the fighter. Where's the fighter? Fighter. Oh, he's somewhere. Oh, here's the ranger. See, a lot of them. Okay, yeah. So here we go. So if you're a 6th level ranger, you're the master of the hunt. You are the ward of 500 acres, I believe is what we wrote. Square miles, 500 square miles. There's 8 huntsmen that work under you, quartering anywhere in the realm, so you have free room and board anywhere and 75 gold pieces a month in revenue. And that's it. That gives you your guideline and go. And the nice thing, and in CKG we break each of the main 13 classes in Castles and Crusades, which are the same classes in Swords and Wizardry 5th edition Dungeon Crawl class, I think. So that you can relate very easily. If you're inclined to pick up the book, of course it's nearly sold out. We just finished Kickstarter on 3rd printing, and we'll begin working on that in the next week or two once we get coded to get these done. But at any rate, just make management as easy as you possibly can. Don't burden your game down, and don't burden your players down with too much hullabaloo. That's just going to be a lot of bookkeeping and papers and paychecks. You don't want to do that. It will just bore everybody. Let's see. Making it easy, something they may want to do. Yeah, you should give it a shot. It does change things quite a bit. Because you don't. It's like it's like so many things. When I watch a movie, I don't want to see characters or whoever struggling to pay their bills. We've all been there. Some of us are there. We don't need it. We don't need to be reminded of the reality of paper management. so the RPG that you're playing on Saturday night, you don't want to do it either. Let's see. I tried it in an old campaign to give a castle that needed to be rebuilt, etc. They loved the idea, or so they said, but it just slowly turned it into forgetting about it. Except for the bard who kept trying to get the deed to it the whole game. That's just it, though, because it's frequently. So my characters always. I don't play as often. I'm usually running the game, but my characters always want to achieve a landed status. Some kind of noble title, a castle, something that marks them, something more than a rogue or a ne'er-do-well drifting around. So when I feed these things into the game, and rarely do the characters want to mess with it. And that's why number 2, practice this. Try to do this and just make it easy, because then it doesn't become a task that they have to mess with. I know in the game that we're running now, I know one of their fortresses got what we call the Green River War. It was huge 3-day game we ran. When we were all at a camping, not camping, but at a cabin out in the woods, and one of their fortresses got burned to the ground. They still haven't fixed it. It's empty. It's just sitting there burning. That's great. Because managing that stuff is a pain in the butt. I plan on running an expanded Borderland game in the near future. Land up for grabs and get hold of it. See, that's a cool concept. I love that idea, and it's a great adventuring thing, and it actually it's a little bit written into the Codex 𝐓𝐫𝐢𝐜. If you go to New Anna, one of the things that the Empress there tries to do is get knights and whoever to go out, do exactly what you're talking, Virtual Wizard, conquer a piece of land, and if you can hold it, and then she will vest you with the land, and you just have to sort of fail to her, blah, blah, blah. And so it's this great adventuring, thing that you can do, because now they've occupied X amount of space, and all the space around it they're going to have to pacify in order to hold what they have, and then they're going to have to, get supplies. There's all kinds of stuff that can actually spring from that. But again, management can be challenging. I think if that is the focus of the game, at the front, the players might want something more detailed, but it should be common and good. Yeah, that's the deal. If you're going to give it, and they want to play it, that's great. But if you want to give it, and they don't want to play it, then definitely don't make it anything extra that they have to do, because it's just going to make them mad, or surly, or disappointed in the game, and they're going to just not pay attention or whatever, or neglect it, as you mentioned earlier. So make management easy, and because the key is, the nice thing about the land is it gives you so many things as a GM that you can do in the future. Of course, if none of them care about the land, all of those things are irrelevant because they don't want to do it. In which case, you probably shouldn't do it. There you go. Let's see. Bloodwild, what did you forget about? Let's see. Income and taxes. The RPG. Yeah, God, it's tax season. I know they pushed it back, but it's tax season right now. Nobody wants to deal with taxes at the RPG game. Nobody at all. In fact, you mentioned RPG or taxes to my players, and they're like to kill every NPC that they can find, good or evil. They just don't care. So, getting mine in September, Trollord, Stevens, awesome, and did the Kickstarter. Woo! Yeah, well, what I'm going to do, probably tomorrow or Monday, we're going to go ahead and release that CKG that we have, this one here, with the new, it'll have the new cover, not this cover, with all the content, so you can start using it immediately. And then we're going to dive in and add in the illustrations and build it and just start releasing it to everybody as we kind of build through it. I know Peter Bradley is working on laying out Codex 𝐓𝐫𝐢𝐜, hoping it's done tomorrow. We're still waiting for a little bit of art. I said all the art was done, wasn't done. I messed something up, so I'm hoping that gets done tonight, tomorrow, and he can get back on those boats. Because I want those boats done, wagons done, containers done, a whole lot of illustrations coming our way. Been slowly reading Eleanor of Aquitaine. She and Louis just left the crusade. Okay, yeah, well, it's going to get more interesting after that, Jennifer. It's a very good book, and her career is nothing short of astounding. Wait till you get to the end and you're able to look back on what Eleanor of Aquitaine, perhaps one of the greatest medieval figures there ever was, with her influence on Louis the Fifth. Is it Louis the Fifth? I can't remember now. On Louis, and Henry II and Richard the Lionhearted and John is nothing, and even Henry III to a very small degree, but it's nothing short of amazing. Glad you're enjoying the book. It is a very, very good book. Green Lantern, my current game is based in the desert. The group is hunting for a lost pyramid. There you go. See, now that's kind of cool. You can take that concept, and obviously you want to loot the concept, but you can actually, they can make it their own. Of course, the desert may not be what anyone wants, except me. I kind of want to go live in the desert. Pyramids are cool. I've actually been reading a lot of Egyptian stuff because we got the Codex Egyptium working. Absolutely love the concept behind all of that stuff. That's the true crypt, isn't it? I mean, that's really the thing at the root of that gigantic pyramid. That's very, very cool. Hey, Stephen, can you tell me the difference between the leather edition of the Player's Manual with the 2017 limited edition stamp and the one without the stamp? Is the one with the stamp an actual limited version and the other something that you will continue to make? So the difference is, let me get my blah, blah, blah. Okay, so if you look, that name there, my name, of course, that's not whatever. So where that name is, there's going to be the words 2017 limited edition. There's a little bit of confusion in the printer when they did like 10 more than I'd asked. So the ones that they didn't have names for that I'd asked for, I had them put that 2017 limited edition. So we got 5 or 6 or 10, I can't remember what it was, that had no stamp on it whatsoever. Now there's not many left. So the difference is, one, those won't be remade. Now when we do a 8th printing of the Player's Handbook, we'll probably do another leather, in the same vein, but it won't be the same as it won't be the black and the red and what have you. But the one literally says 2017 limited edition on it. The other one is blank. It has absolutely nothing in it. And there's only a few of each of those left. I'm really not certain how many. I know we just shipped the very last adventure's backpack out, and those will not be redone unless there's another printing done, and in that case, the book will be done differently. The layout will be done differently. So if you've got the 7th printing, you've got this version of the 7 printing only available in Kickstarter, and the few that we have, the overage that we have, then you've got a limited collection that will never be replaced. Let's see. Probably Monday. Oh, that's current situation: sitting in preschooler's room, intimidating. There you go. Ginks, warm milk or something warm always helps. There you go. All right. Louis VII. Yes. That's not going to last much longer, Jennifer. I'll give you a spoiler there. Forget it. Overtime. All right. So we haven't done a desert campaign in decades. So I decided to throw them into this. Nice. Very cool. What was I reading? And so when that Codex Egyptium, I never knew that whole concept of the Sphinx, that if the Sphinx gives the riddle or whatever that thing is. That's not an Egyptian thing. That's a Greek thing that they assumed that the Egyptian Sphinx did. This is very interesting. The Sphinx is just a very powerful religious guardian figure, we think. And they're just not sorry there's not that much information on it. It was very fascinating. That Codex Egyptium is filled with lots of bits and pieces of information that I did not know. My characters, Willie the Rat, my characters are working through some of the early A-series modules, and I wanted them to base out of the city of Ludenstein. So we ordered them with the majority shares in the Gold Pan Tavern. Nice. See, that's just it. And now they have a vested interest, hopefully. And if you don't weigh them down with it too much, they might really get into it. So that's actually a nice segue really into the next one. So what you can do in that Gold Pan Tavern, as you're making management easier of this land as treasure, like we discussed in Trick 2, Trick 3 is make your locals, whoever's in that tavern, whoever's on that piece of property, kind of self-reliant. Don't make them dependent in any way on the characters, because the characters aren't going to want to stay in this one spot. They're going to go off adventuring and slay the dragon, or kill a Black Knight, or whatever it is across the world, plane hopping as they get higher level, whatever it is, blah blah blah. So make your NPCs, make the locals, not really your NPCs, but the locals, what we in Castles and Crusades call adherents, just those people that are part of the game. There's the ones in video games who have one line or two lines when you walk up to them. That they're not really germ to what's going on. They're just kind of background flavor. So take those guys, kind of make them self-reliant. Don't make them confident in the players. Don't make the players feel like they have to protect these people. Obviously, that's their feudal job, but if they're doing it correctly, they would hire men-at-arms to take care of that, blah, blah, blah. Now, the dragon comes flying in, sure. Sure, the character's got to do something. But on a normal day-to-day basis, make these guys kind of self-reliant, so it's not so odorous and just, like we were talking about in the previous trick, and like a few of you mentioned in the feed, where the characters don't want to do it. The players don't want to do it. They don't want to mess with it. They got to take care of it. They got to put 7 children to bed, and they don't want to mess with having to put 7 peasants to bed, and they want to go kill something and let them get on with it. So that's always a good thing to do. Just make your locals. I'm a big advocate of using NPCs in different ways than the stereotypical the NPCs trying to rip the player off. That we've all done it 1,000 times. The NPC with the evil idea. No, don't try to break from that mold. 1 in 20 should have the evil idea. Questions are, how do you handle players being gone for months at least before returning to their stronghold, assuming it's staff and people living it? Well, it's interesting because, Dark Light, if you think about it, in the Middle Ages, that was done. Do we call it the Middle Ages anymore? I don't think they do. I think they dropped that term. No, the Dark Ages. They dropped the Dark Ages. Middle Ages. I don't know. Whatever. In the medieval period, you take King Richard, for instance. He left his kingdom for, 10 years he was gone. A lot of the crusading knights left and were gone. A lot of people did this. A lot of the Templars and the Teutonic Knights and the Hospitallers, they all would leave their property in the hands of a seneschal, someone that could manage it. And I sort of do the same thing. So, like for right now, they've been gone from their protectorate for, I don't know, months, and doing their own thing. But everything down, they've got one guy, Matthias, I think is his name, and he's just kind of running the show down there. And really, I just kind of break it off. He's going to run it. If I want them to go back, or if I want the adventure to kind of return to the Darkenfold, which is where it is, then I'll have something happen that he can't handle. Otherwise, we continue doing the adventures that we're doing, and I don't pay any attention to it. And then 6 months later, when they come back, this has changed and that has changed. I'll do a little timeline in my head and just kind of let everybody know, like one of the things that happens all the time. There's this village of Alice that they've tried to found or reestablish. Yeah, it's reestablished several times. The median age. They tried to reestablish. Alice was abandoned years ago because of the ghost. They slew the ghost, and it stayed abandoned. And then once they became kind of protectorates, they rebuilt Alice. And then in the Green River War that I was talking about earlier, it got sacked and burned. And then they tried to set it up again. Plague wiped out most of the people. So Matthias, the last time they left, they were gone for like 5 months. They came back, and Matthias had brought in a small mercenary army of like 60 men, and they had built a palisade around Alice, fortified it, and he was determined to make it become something. So essentially, I just had the NPCs run the show while they were gone. It did nothing really to detract from the game or take away from the players. Matthias is kind of their NPC, kind of their guy, so it's sort of their henchmen doing the stuff with that. So that's generally what I do when they're gone for a long time. I just treat it like a medieval, barony, whatever. Willie, they could have a steward or seneschal look after the property in their absence, someone they trust, and they hire them for this. Yeah, and that's kind of the way to do it, and that's what a lot of medieval rulers did. Even when they were there, they didn't get into all of the minutiae. They let their seneschals do this stuff. That's kind of the thing. So, definitely do that. Think about the Odyssey and how it took 10 years for Odysseus to come back and right when he returned, that's when it all was too late, and he was able to finish up. Yeah, that's a perfect example, and that's another nice thing when they do leave. If you in their property that they've inherited, whatever it is, you can have all kinds of stuff happening to bring them back, and then a whole other slew of adventures. It's really why Land is Treasure, to me, is probably the most valuable type of treasure for the game. And if you don't make it onerous for the players, then it's just fun all the way around. You can keep doing it. They can get stuff out of it. You can get stuff out of it, and keep the game kind of rolling and rolling. Sounds like there you go. Let's see, Dark Light. This is helpful because the campaign I'm about to start is is Earth 1892, but they're world traveling monster hunters, but they all have a lodge probably around London. Very cool. So there you go. That's badass. So what you end up doing is it's sort of like a TV show that came out on Netflix that had a school. Now the kids were orphans and scattered everywhere, but that's sort of it. They've got this kind of central location in the matrix of planes, or however you're going to do it. This is their little piece of the world. And another nice thing about this, so many players kind of back off from building strongholds and from creating anywhere where they can safeguard their equipment. So they end up with this cacophony of crap that they're carrying around. And for a GM, for me, that drives me absolutely insane. If someone describes their character, like Jennifer knows I do this a lot. I talk about when I was in the Army. But when you're carrying a lot of stuff, it is difficult to carry a lot of stuff. It's just difficult. And especially when you're walking up and down mountains all day and through unexplored terrain. Chuck is here. Hey, Chuck, how's it going? It drives me nuts. So if you've got Landis treasure, if you've given them a barony or a castle or whatever it is, they have somewhere to put that stuff. And this lodge that you're in London Dark Light, that's somewhere they can go, adventure, get the ancient text of the Elder Ones, and put it in the lodge. And there it is. It's kind of safe, they don't need to worry about it getting sacked. They may, that's up to you, Dark Light, however that's going to play out. But at least they have kind of a stronghold that you force them to do and force them to kind of put stuff in where they can go back in the group and heal and fix. It's just a good thing. That's my first thing I always do is buy an Oregon Trail stock carriage. There you go. We need a Conestoga wagon is what we need. Conestoga wagon is about as American as anything gets. It's just gigantic wagon to carry your house across the prairie. Let's see. Did you ever play Salt Marsh back in the day? Oh, yeah. Hey, Gage Preacher, how's it going? After clearing out the Alchemist's home, the players moved in. This was back in the early days. 3.5, but ended up making some cool stuff. Oh, yeah, I love Salt Marsh. Salt Marsh was a great adventure. That L1 back in the TSR days, absolutely love that. So this next one, just avoid dysentery in that swamp where the castle keeps falling down. And so this next one kind of plays into the last one. So trick number 3, we said, make the locals kind of self-reliant so that they don't always depend upon the players and the characters to save them and board the living crap out of your players. So to help do this, and this goes right into what has been mentioned here on the U1, that's right. That's right, because it had the map of the ship. I love the map of that ship. Playing into the other one, have yourself a seneschal. This is what we're talking about anyway. Have yourself an NPC like the Matthias that I mentioned that can manage things for them. This serves a multiple number of purposes, and usually if it's the bigger the property, the more NPCs, maybe 2 or 5 or 7 or 8. And this is just someone that the players can engage with on a role-playing level, that you can feed adventures through the NPC, and the NPC can do those things that no player wants to do or can do well. So that's going to be balancing books, and the second part is talking to the local lords. And that never goes well. It always goes horribly. I've said this 1,000 times, both on this Twitch and in the GM Tricks Betrayed. We're all raised in these Western-style democracies, so to envision, we can't even kind of step into a feudal environment and understand the idea behind liege and vassal and all of this other stuff. So it always goes south. So if you've got a good NPC to do that for you, you can basically just say, he may be necessary, decreases, that's not right. I don't know what I'm looking at. He bowed to the Lord so that you don't have to. It's just a really good way to do that. NPC. I think I say that all the time because I use them all the time. And they're just a tool that I think gets forgotten too very, very often. So it is expected that the players who embrace strongholds immediately want to raise an army to deal with threat. I think I missed the first part of that. Yes, I did. Nope, maybe I didn't. Okay. So it's expected that players who embrace strongholds immediately want to raise an army. Yeah, sometimes they do, and that can be fun too. Then of course you got to get into kind of army battle rules, which I frequently boil down to just a couple of dice rolls. But it's definitely a direction that the game can take fast, which can be fun. Can be aggravating. If I recall, our salt marsh manor was guarded by house cats. There you go. I remember once clearing out a keep of orcs and setting up a turncoat as a keeper of the keep for us. We used it as a base and steal the local quest giver was nearby. That's awesome. That's the way to do it. This is why your players should put an emphasis on developing good relations with some of the NPCs they come across on their rise to greatness. Absolutely, John. That is brilliantly said. And NPCs are too often forgotten by the GM and too often just treated like fodder by players. And it's just both sides is wrong. NPCs should be used a lot, and the players should not treat them as fodder. But conversely, and this, I used to fall into this all the time, but as GMs, you can't have most of the NPCs trying to trick or bedevil or outsmart or take something away from the players. Most of the NPCs need to be like most of the people in your life. In your real life, they're just people doing stuff. Now, they might accidentally do you wrong, but very few people are sitting at home right now thinking, how can I get that John? They're not doing it. So, there might be one, John. You may have some guy out there who's really upset with you, but chances are there's very few people doing it. So, make sure your NPCs are mostly good, occasionally even. They aren't all hangers-on. They can be valuable resources to the future. The 5 hit point man-at-arms might be a top-notch Castilian contempt. Absolutely. And that's the thing. And if they will actually... my last boss spent time on that. I was like, exactly. One guy. But, yeah, so the NPCs are an invaluable resource that you should never, ever, ever forget about. I think it's probably the thing I talk about the most in these GM Spirits of the Trade NPCs, I would guess. Start like with 50,000 yeah, there you go. That would be quite the argument. The GMs don't go around having the NPCs backstabbing. Absolutely. It happens so much that you get characters that are so gun-shy when it comes to an NPC that the moment that NPC is introduced, they want to kill them. Or they want to, whatever, not pay any attention to them. And this becomes that kind of trained response. You have to start using NPCs. I did. It took me forever to do this. You start using NPCs in a helpful manner. And after many games that you've played, then the players will begin to kind of learn what's going on. That's it. Okay. Reading through the message. So we got that. We need to dive in. Let's see. I think my old 𝐓𝐫𝐚𝐝 did that. Loved this bound book. I prefer fleshing out small towns and then moving on from there, having local blacksmiths, clerics, leatherworkers, etc. Give players access to basic needs. Yeah, and that's a great way to do it, Geek Creature, because you kind of make it all, you normalize it, and you make it all small enough that everybody can relate. It's like the town in the old westerns. Very few old westerns have big cities in them. Most of them are small towns, so you can relate, like Little House on the Prairie. You can relate to the shopkeeper. You can relate to the mill guy. You can relate to everybody. You bring that same kind of concept into the game, it will go very, very, very far. An NPC that is too honest or altruistic won't be believable. Players won't trust him. We don't want to go overboard, of course. Now, there's going to be some people like that. Some people are just nice. Some people will do things for you out of kindness. There are people like that. You know them and I know them. But you don't want to go overboard. Absolutely. You want to have it kind of middle of the road. Most people are just middle of the road. I was writing a short story today with my two characters, 𝐓𝐫𝐚𝐝 and Ava, and I introduced a character. And when 𝐓𝐫𝐚𝐝 looks at him and tries to determine who and what he is, I can't remember how I worded it, but it's something like he was like most men. He was good with the potential of doing evil if wronged, or something like that. So everyone has it, so you don't want to overdo it, but you definitely don't want to underdo it. You don't want to go the other way either, definitely. And keep in mind that PCs might be the ones spreading around affluence, so NPCs will want to stay on the good side. Yeah, we've run into that too, where they abuse the NPCs too much, and the NPCs turn out, even as I designed it, were major players with major wealth and power, and it didn't go well for the players because of that very thing. And NPC management is really, it's extremely fun, but should be done with a little bit of care. So this is our last trick of the trade, was flesh it out. So this is kind of just building on everything that we've said and mentioned. Essentially, if you've got this piece of land that you've given your players, then you can take any part of that land and build a story around it. An old shack, a pond, a farmhouse, a little village, a crypt, a cemetery, a dry creek or wet creek, a little marshy area. There's just thousands of them. Write a story about it, create a story about it. In this small pond is where this sprite lives, and so forth and so on. A naiad, I guess, is the female, is the one that lives in the pond. So you can build adventures off of this stuff ad nauseum. Obviously, you don't want to overdo it. You know, if it's 3 square miles, you don't want 400 little adventures in there. But the bigger the piece of property, the more that you can do with it, the more that you can expand. Definitely. 𝐓𝐫𝐤𝐬 was awake now, his hand moving. Yeah, okay, so here's what I wrote today in the short story, The Maid and the Mariner. 𝐓𝐫𝐤𝐬 was awake now, his hand moving toward his dagger. Even as he did so, he looked into the man and through him, seeking his quality, and he knew that the sailor was as most men, good but capable of evil, of course. And that's kind of most of your NPCs, right? That's what they should be. Let's see, let's roll back up a little bit. I missed something. Agreed. Geek creature. I like to do the same thing. Give them actual towns, give them trade, wandering tradesmen, performers, thieves, etc., etc. Flesh out characters ahead of time. I used to have a bunch I've made for several towns and encounters. I would just rename them. Yeah, I've done that many times, Jason, many times. This is why I wasn't remaking NPCs. Everything was fine as far as town. Yeah, and there's no reason to, because they're just kind of, you just need a new name. It's kind of the blacksmith is a blacksmith. Give them maybe a little personality. And we will have that NPC almanac out in the next, by late summer, I think. So, and that's going to be a fantastic resource for all of us. There's, I don't know, thousands and thousands of NPCs. It's why I like PCs with more normal backgrounds. This way they're growing from ordinary folks into something greater. They swept up and died even. Yep, absolutely. You don't want the NPCs. And one of the things for the most part, one in 100 of the NPCs should outshine the players. Otherwise, the players should be the ones outshining. Never have an NPC rescue the party or any of that stuff. That's just bad news. Let's see, real quick, if you have not, please give us a follow. We're about winding up this GM's Trick to the Trade. I want to thank everybody for jumping in this conversation. I surely do appreciate it. This has been one of the most lively conversations we've had, and this is literally my favorite subject as a GM. I love landed treasure. I just do it all the time. So if you can, give us a follow. We appreciate it. I think that, so Chuck is out. He usually runs he's the man behind the curtain here. Tim's taking over, and we are going to try to do a raid here pretty soon. If I suddenly sign off, it's because Tim told me to suddenly sign off. I'm still not 100% certain how these raids work, but there you go. But again, thank you all for joining in on this conversation. We really do appreciate it. And real quick, we will be back Tuesday. You're mighty welcome, Bloodwild. I sure appreciate it. Love you guys coming out. We'll be back next Tuesday at 4. Next Tuesday at 4 for Ask Me Anything. We may be World Anviling up next Wednesday at 1. And GM Tricks of the Trade number 46 next Thursday at 8. And then we got more stuff coming. Check the schedule. It's some kind of miniature paintings going on, and Chuck's got games running. Lots of stuff rolling around. And thank you, Scott. You too, everybody. Let's echo what Scott says. Stay safe. Wash your hands. Do the social distancing, and we'll be through this mess before too long. They're getting a handle on it. Wait a minute. What's happening? I think we're already rating. Am I rating? Tim, do I need to sign off? Okay, guys, I think I'm signing off now. You all have a great evening. Stay safe, and thank you all for showing up. Thanks for the follow, Jinx. Willie, Dark Light. Wait, we're rating now. I don't know what's going on. Good night, everybody. Have a great one.